Hi everyone, this is 80 from 80's Crafts and Things, and today we're going to be making this cute little baby headband in Tunisian crochet. So stay tuned and we'll walk you step by step on how to do it. Alright, let's get going. Okay, so today we're going to be using this yarn called Feels Like Butter from Lion Brand Yarns. This one is a medium weight yarn, which is very similar to this one. This one's another Lion Brand yarn that I used for it. And with this one, we will be using an 8mm hook. I will be posting the pattern on the blog with all the information also on the gauge so that you're able to get the correct sizing. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this one. I'm going to make a size for 0 to 6 months today, but there will be more sizes available on the pattern on the blog. So with this one, I'm going to start with chain 10. Oh, this is catching more than I expected. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So from here we're going to do our regular foundation row. So we're going to skip the first stitch and we're going to go straight into the second. And if this is your first time working Tunisian crochet, we're going to just be pulling up a loop on each of those stitches and leaving them on the hook. So by the end of this, you should have 10 loops on your hook. Now I'm just going on the back loops. I find it easier, and for other projects it actually leaves a very nice looking finish when you use the top or the bottom loops instead of using one of the side loops. I'll show you here in a second. So you'll see like the bottom, you get all the nice clean little V's all the way down. All right, so from here we're going to do a return pass, which is quite simple. We're just going to do a yarn over, pull through one loop to create a chain, and then from here we're going to do yarn over, pull through 2 loops all the way down the road. Now this pattern is a 2-row repeat pattern. We're going to be using the Tunisian simple stitch. So what that means is that row 1 is going to be different than row 2. So now that we have our foundation row, we're going to start on row 1, which is going to be going in between each of those stitches and pulling up a loop. So we're going to start between that 1 and number 2, and then we're just going to pull up a loop on each stitch from here on out. If you wanted to modify this pattern, you can just use any number of stitches. You don't need a specific number, odd or even, or multiples of any sort. So feel free to modify this if you wanted to make one for yourself instead of making a toddler or a baby size. Now when we get to the end of the row, between the 2 stitches, we're not going to go in that one for this row. We're just going to go ahead and do the end stitch, which is just going to be going through this little V, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we're going to do a return pass as usual. So yarn over, pull up through 1, and yarn over, pull through 2, all the way through the row. until you're down to 1 loop on your hook. Okay, now in row number 2, we are going to skip that first space and we're going to go into the second one. So between stitch number 2 and stitch number 3, and we're going to start on that space. And again, we're going to go in between each of those spaces and pull up a loop. And the only difference on this row is whenever we get to the very end stitches, we will actually go in between that space right there. Okay. And then we're still going to do the end stitch. And then we're going to do our return pass. Now we're going to be repeating those 2 rows all the way through until you get the length that you need. In this case, we're going to do 44 rows total. Foundation row does not count, so right now I'm just finishing row 2. I'll do a couple more examples so that you see it again, and then we'll fast forward a little bit and meet you to where we finish that rectangle. So row number 3 is going to be same as row number 1. Go in between number 1 and number 2. And make sure you count your stitches from time to time. You want to make sure that in this particular case that we had 10 at the beginning, that we also end up with 10 on each row. Did I skip one? Because otherwise it can be very easy to get lost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that way you know if there is a section where you weren't entirely sure, you can count your stitches and then go from there. Okay, and then row number 4 will be the same as row number 2. We skip this first space and go to the second one. Now, whenever you're making your own rectangles for the headband, if you've got the measurement that you want for the circumference, make sure that you add about 1.5 inches over the circumference. So for like these little baby ones with the 6 to 12 months, you want it to be about 12 inches long for the finished. So whenever we're making our rectangles, we need to make sure that it's at least around 13.5 inches. In centimeters, the finished one would be about 30.5 centimeters, and we would just add about 3.8 centimeters, so that would bring it to 34.3 centimeters. And that is just because whenever we make the little knot and put together our ends, it will reduce quite a little bit on that length. Okay, so we're going to keep going, doing our 2-row repeat, and we're going to meet back here again, okay? I'm just going to count my rows here. So I needed 4 rows total. Again, the foundation row here at the bottom does not count. So I'll be as quick as I can, I promise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, Number 43, one more, and we're finished with this one. Now this would be a good time to go ahead and get your measuring tape and measure your headband before you continue. Again, usually if you've done the little gauge swap, you would know for sure if your tension is the same as mine to get the same measurements. But yeah, so for this one, I needed to be about 13.5 to 14 inches. I should have brought my measuring tape, but I'm just gonna move on so that you can see how to finish this. And from there, I'll show you how to put it all together. So for the last row, we're just gonna go as if it were row number 1 again, but we're gonna just do slip stitches. So we're gonna pull up, it's gonna give me grief, and pull it through. Let's try that again. And over, pull up a loop and put it all the way through. We're gonna do this all the way down as if it had been row number 1. Alright, so before I cut this yarn, you do want to leave a good amount of yarn, probably about 5 inches or so, just so that you have enough yarn to sew together. So 5 to 6 inches. I'm just gonna fasten it. Now you would have noticed that this is gonna have a right side, and then you're gonna have the wrong side. So with the right side facing up, we're gonna start making this into a little U, like that. And then from here, we're gonna overlap. So we're gonna bring the one on your right over the left about halfway, like that. And then we're gonna start folding little sides here. So we'll fold this one over this way. And then we will fold the other one on top. And then you'll see that if we put this up, you have all 4 layers right there. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is where we're going to be grabbing a yarn needle. And then we're going to try to make sure that we catch all 4 layers all at once. I'm just going to make a simple whip stitch. Okay. So you don't want it too tight, but just tight enough to where it's not going to stretch. And then once you're finished, you can tie together both ends right here. And then from here, you would go ahead and sew those ends into the band. But then, yeah, you're gonna turn it over to the right side, and voila, little headband ready to go. So if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more tutorials on regular crochet and Tunisian crochet. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, bye.